small country with a powerful voice makes waves once again.
Hello and welcome to the EuroWhat, episode 253, dropping on January 28th, 2025. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Ben Smith, and I'm here with my co-host, Mike McComb. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Ben.
In this episode, we'll be talking about lineup changes, the results from Luxembourg, and getting ready for a very busy week for Eurovision. Time for Friends on the weekend is over, Mike. This was like the last normal weekend. It's all over.
Yeah, well, first of all, welcome back. Some things happened while you were out.
Yeah, no, I came into our show notes on Wednesday, and it was just sort of that gif from Community of Donald Glover holding all of the pizzas. That was me. I was holding all of the pizzas, and there was so much fire, and so many things had happened.
Yeah, I guess we can start with the first one. We have already lost one country this year. Moldova has decided to withdraw from Eurovision. There were the auditions last week. What is time? And they picked 12 finalists, and the broadcaster was like, we don't like these, even though I do think they picked probably 12 of the best entries that were on offer. So yeah, they issued a press release earlier last week and said that they are going to be reevaluating how they do selections in the future and will not be participating in 2025, which is a shame because it was slated to be their 20th participation in the contest. This is the first time that they've withdrawn. It's a bummer.
I had seen rumors that one of the acts that was selected was like, we've got funding, we can do it. If the broadcaster is not excited about what they've selected for their selection, let's just call a mulligan. Let's just, you know what, we're just going to sit down, we're going to figure things out, we're going to come back stronger than ever.
Moldova's had some significant budget issues. That was one of the things coming out of last year's contest that they were reevaluating. And like Natalia Barbu, like she had to pay a lot of her own way in last year's contest. And I think they are just trying to avoid a situation like with what happened with Romania in 2023, where it was just like, all right, you're on your own. And then we see what happens when you are on your own in producing your Eurovision entry. So come back soon, Moldova. We already miss you.
And then the other major shakeup that happened the same day was a press release that within UMK there would be a lineup change. We just got one morning left, committed a rule violation and would be out of the competition. I just assumed that they had performed their song like before the deadline someplace. That's generally what rule violation means. And then it dropped that the band was breaking up following allegations that the lead singer had done child grooming. So just yikes.
Yeah, this escalated very quickly where I had the same thought as you, where it's just like, oh, it's like just a standard song has to withdraw situation. And because the press release also mentioned this, like, yeah, it's a violation of the rules at the Eurovision level. But I think the rule is just like, do not bring the contest into disrepute. And the fact that the band immediately noped out of this situation, what a mess. But
yeah. And like, I think this is very interesting for the lineup of UMK. Like, Poupée felt like the immediate televote getter.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it shares a lot of DNA with what Finland has been sending the last few years. So I think this is actually, I'm interested to see them get out of their comfort zone.
I agree. Yeah. And I think the speculation is just like, oh, well, it's automatically going to go to Erika Vikman. It's like, I'm not so sure. I think this has actually turned into a contest.
Yes. It's like, I'm not sold on it automatically being Erika Vikman. I want to see how these things are staged. But yeah, again, like, I think it makes for a more interesting result from Finland for me. Because did I like Poupée? Yes. Did it have potential for like diminishing returns if it wasn't clicking with everybody? Also, yes.
I can verify that last one. Yeah, like I'm just glad that I don't have to be a wet blanket this year because I was fully ready to take on that role. I didn't like the songs.
I was bullish on it. So just like this podcast is two hosts, and now but again, I am so excited to see what comes out of this now because like what of these 6 is going to be the entry?
I wish the circumstances were completely different.
Yes, yeah, just again, I cannot state enough. Yikes.
Let's move on to something a little less yikesy, shall we?
Yes.
All right. So on Saturday, Luxembourg held the second Luxembourg Song Contest for their current era in Eurovision. It was a weirdly delightful program. It was so messy, but in a way that felt organic and relatable. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there was one point in the afternoon where I posted, yeah, it really feels like this is Shaggy and doesn't have a script. Complimentary.
Oh yeah, because like at the last minute, they're just like, we're not doing a super final. We're just doing the two sets of votes. So like that's like half an hour of time that you suddenly have to fill.
Right. One of the other things that kind of came up out of nowhere was, oh, we're going to have a third host. And that third host was Conchita Wurst. She needs to make this a more regular gig. Like, just
I'm just like, can we get her a daytime talk show immediately? Just sort of Conchita. This was just a highlight reel of what that could be. Is just like great hosting, hanging on the edge of every word, ready to oversee a marriage if needed. Just like, and honestly, they had an extra half an hour. Just like that's the interval act now. It's just like great news, y'all.
During one of the audience segments, there was a Jumbotron wedding proposal, which like 99% of the time I absolutely hate, but there was a sweetness about it. And then Conchita like immediately offers like, oh yeah, I can officiate this now if you want. And why the newly engaged couple did not take her up on that offer.
Oh no, just like hold her to her word. To the Shaggy nature of things, the second performance of Conchita's, if you had told me that she had been given like an hour's notice and had like fashion an outfit out of like a blanket from the green room, I would believe you. It's just like she was ready to go. Just like, yes, my new song is out in March, the EP is out in April, and I'm performing one of the songs now because we have time to fill.
Yeah, and really during that performance, I was thinking, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Wouldn't it be wild if this was the debut of a national entry somewhere? Like, not necessarily Austria, but it's just like, oh, this could be a stealth song drop. I don't think that's the case. Like Conchita wasn't giving that sort of hint.
I'm just thinking, just sort of like the Eurovision version of just proposing at somebody else's wedding. Just like, hello, my single is dropping and it's our entry.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be such a coup. I think perhaps the Shaggy nature of it may have been, there was kind of a sense that like perhaps somebody had lunch with Conchita Saturday afternoon. It was like, oh, hey, I'm doing this thing later. Do you want to come by? And it's like, oh, sure. Can I host? Yeah, probably. And so they had to throw out the script. And it's like, oh, we'll wing it. And like somehow do that with the 5,000 different languages that they're speaking in Luxembourg.
Oh, yeah. I'm just like, did they bring her in because like they weren't like super jazzed about having to do the English?
That could be it. From a production standpoint, it was just really kind of all over the place. But again, it was super charming and like just really kind of felt like going to performing arts high school graduation. And like it's supposed to be like super well choreographed, but of course it's not necessarily professionals. But it's professionals working. Like I feel like there's no way to talk about it that doesn't sound like condescending, but it's just like it should not have worked, and it worked perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, I was watching it after the fact and was having a great time. Let the ad breaks run, just sort of just like, no, this is just super fun. I felt no need to fast forward.
Great show all the way throughout. And a lot of the graphic treatments, like it was a well thought out production, which I think is maybe that's the thing that's missing from a lot of other national finals. The execution can be great, but there's not a lot of planning that goes into it. I think this might have been the reverse, where like the planning was spot on. Execution needed a little bit of work, but that's fine. It's like, yeah, stuff happens, the joys of live television.
I was detecting just like a slight undertone of just like promotional brochure for Luxembourg. Just, oh yeah. Just like, and what a great country to host a business in.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you could tell like they know that they have an international audience watching, particularly in the interview segments. Like no matter what language is being spoken, there were subtitles in a different language. So if it was in English, you had German subtitles. If they were speaking German, it was in English. They were making sure that everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, yes, but also that everybody was understanding. And we have great schools. It's so professionally done. This feels like Eurovision. Just like down to like the Luxembourg kaiju postcards.
Each act was standing on a photo of a street in Luxembourg. If they were mean-spirited, they could start smashing the buildings, but everybody seemed to be having a good time.
Yes.
During their performance parts of it. When they were getting into the results, you could see a lot of people kind of sucking their teeth as the points were rolling in, be like, I wanted more points there. So Yeah, I guess we should maybe talk about the results and the
Yeah.
actual contest part of the contest.
Yes.
So there were 7 songs that were performing, and it was a combination of jury and televote that was determining the winner. The televote was done in proportion style, our preferred method of score giving. The jury gave almost unanimous support behind Laura Thorn and La Poupée Monte's Le Son. There really was no coming back from that, because for all the other 6 entries, the jury was really kind of all over the place. It was a deficit that nobody could really make up at that point. So the overall winner of the contest was Laura Thorn and La Poupée Monte Le Son. So yeah, what were your thoughts on this song, this entry, how it fit in the Luxembourg Song Contest?
On paper, I really like the idea of, hey, it's been 60 years since Poupée le Cire, Poupée le Son. Let's go back and update that for now. I thought it was a very competently done performance. It was one of the best ones of the night. I was sort of leaning a little bit more towards Luzak's song. I thought that the styling there, the staging was really impressive. It felt very contemporary. The narrative on La Poupée feels very compelling, but because it's echoing the France Gall song, the whole thing with the France Gall song is that's her singing a song written by a man. This one is Laura singing a song written by 2 guys that feels like it's kind of it wants to be a girl power anthem, but there's also just the optics of it for me are what's throwing me off.
Yes. So a friend of the show, Dude Point, was
I was just about to say, Dude Point had a really good thread, and it immediately was that's what I'm feeling so weird about on this.
Yeah. For me, I think part of it is in the presentation of it, because the performance started with the start of the performance that Francis Gall gave of the original track. So it's triggering those nostalgia buttons, and that song is an all-timer. That has been stuck in my head more than the song from yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. You know what's been stuck in my head today? Poupée le Cire, Poupée le Son. Yeah.
And this kind of feels like, how when properties are going into the public domain, there's now the Winnie the Pooh horror movie and all of that stuff. I don't think this is going to turn into a slasher pick.
But just how there's 20 bajillion adaptations of The Great Gatsby happening right now.
Right. Or when Wizard of Oz. Is that actually in the public domain? And anyway, where it's just every couple of years, there's a new Wizard of Oz movie. Wicked is kind of the exception to that point. But yeah, I don't want to say that this is riding on coattails, but it's going to need to do something to separate it from the 1960s song. Otherwise, I think it's just going to be banking on people voting for the original song that, again, is an all-timer. This has bones. I think they can work with it.
It has bones, and there's a world where I can see that narrative. It's 60 years afterwards could really do it, but right now for me, it's it's 60 years later and we're still doing the same thing. If this was written from a woman's perspective by women, I feel like I would give it a lot more time of day. The metaphor for me is when a movie advertises itself as from the producers of, rather than just but you didn't write the movie and you didn't direct the movie, you just threw money at it.
Yep.
And that is not necessarily the indicator of quality you think it is. But yeah, I think right now the way they're staging it is too tied to what happened 60 years ago. I have hope because the staging and a little bit of the arrangement of Fighter changed between the selection and the contest last year. So hopefully they will take a minute to think about, okay, how can we make this its own thing?
It does invite a really interesting critique of hey, what has changed in 60 years? Or really, what has changed and is now regressing because things aren't great right now? I mean, that may be way too complex for this particular song, but if it can introduce that sort of discussion, I don't know. I'm starting to put this into a Konstratka place. So maybe if they could get Konstratka on the phone.
Can we get a consult from her? If not, I look forward to reading whatever academic paper about this entry gets written.
Yes. And dude, if you are writing that paper, please send us a link. Overall, good job, Luxembourg. This was a delight. So
Yeah, and then in other selection news, Israel's Rising Star ended Wednesday with Yuval Raphael as the winner. She's expected to be Israel's representative in Basel, and their song is expected to be released in March.
All right. Other things that were happening this past week, we got a lot of song drops from a lot of different contests. Portugal and Ukraine dropped the songs for their respective contests. Portugal's Festival of Canção will be kicking off end of February with 20 songs competing. That's always a fun playlist. And then Ukraine, they have released the tracks for the finalists that were shortlisted. All 10 songs that will be competing in VidBeer in a couple of weeks are available on streaming platforms. Ireland also finished their drops. They did the one song a day each day, except for Thursday. They dropped 2, and one of those 2 was Samantha Mumba.
Mike, I got to tell you, I did not expect to see her name in the mix.
Yeah. Like, I keep forgetting that she's Irish, so it's like, oh,
same.
Yeah,
same.
Okay.
It's just like, I feel like every time I think of her, it's like around the time that we were doing when like the 90s pop explosion happened. Like there are some artists that came over to the United States that you could clearly tell were like the tertiary level. Let's import this product. It's doing well over here sort of thing. And she kind of got lumped in with that. But
yeah,
she has continued to record music. I was looking at her Wikipedia page because the main things I remember is Gotta Tell You, and then starred in that awful movie version of The Time Machine in like 2002.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That totally passed me by.
I remember going to see that movie in a theater. And at the time thinking, this is not good.
Aw. Yeah, the thing that jumped out to me from her Wikipedia is that she used to date former American Song Contest contestant Cisco. What?
Oh, yeah. Like, that was the other thing of note. I was like, oh, we need to talk about this on the show.
Yeah.
2 of the only people who watched the American Song Contest front to back.
This was also kind of after both of their heydays. This was like in 2005 they were dating. So it's like, good for them.
Good for them.
And the other artist that dropped on Thursday was Emmy, who you may remember from Norway's MGP 2021 and her song Witchwoods. So yeah, that was unexpected. I don't know why Ireland's decided to go international unless I don't know, listening to Like a Party, which is what Emmy's song is called. I'm wondering if that was submitted for MGP and didn't get in, so started shopping it around, because it feels very NRK MGP. I'll say that. So
yes, I have made a note for next time to be more specific when I said I wouldn't mind if Ireland kept the witchy vibe.
This one I don't think is going to fit that spot, but there is one that in my notes I have listed as Vampire Rave Complimentary. It's going to come down to overcoming the challenges of being in the Late Late Show studio. But we will see how that plays out on February 7th, which is when the Irish National Final will be. Also, speaking of Norway, they dropped their songs this past Friday. Their final is on February 15th. Ben, did you get a chance to listen to any of Norway's songs?
I specifically looked up what the Bobby Socks songs sounded like, just because it's been X number of years since they participated, and I was like, what are they going for now? And it did what I expected. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of songs. I was checking our playlist earlier today. I think we're at about like 320 that are available, with other song drops that are happening in the next couple of days. We'll be well over 350. It's going to be like close to 450 probably like 2 weeks from now. Like,
once you get Italy, having looked at the calendar for the next 2 weeks, we're going to crack 400 real soon.
Yep. And yeah, it's still January, folks. So, and who knows what San Marino's doing. And then getting into the TV on Saturday, Slovenia did their song drop for Emma. They had a showcase where all 12 songs were featured, and you can now find lyric videos on the RTV Slow website to check out those tracks. And the Slovenian final will be this coming Saturday.
Belgium is also having their final on Saturday. I'm delighted to see that they're going to stream that on YouTube, because goodness knows it's been hard to watch the pre-selection stuff.
I noticed that they finally dropped the tracks on their YouTube channel. I guess they were just planning to drop them all at once, but it's like, it's still annoying. Did you get a chance to listen to any of the Belgium entries? Or
I have not yet. I'm going to go into that one blind. I'm excited. I'm not sure I should be excited, but
I think the ones that dropped this past weekend were stronger. I'll put it that way. I'm just kind of like holding back a little bit until I can see it performed on a larger stage. Like where they've been showcasing these, it's been more of a smaller stage, like in the round type thing. And I think when they're on a bigger stage and maybe have a little bit more production behind them, it might work. I'll stop poisoning the well. So Lithuania's process was continuing on Saturday. We had the first three-way tie in this new format. And
yeah, like it's kind of fun to know that can happen mathematically.
Yeah, and can lead to rather unsatisfying results if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yes. So the top three with both the jury and the televote were Gabrasi, Goya, and Black Biceps. When it came to the televote, it was the reverse order. So Black Biceps won the televote, Goya finished second, and Gabrasi was third. So that gave all three of them 20 points. But as we know, the jury is the tiebreaker. So the two slots to the final went to Gabrasi and Goya, and Black Biceps were left at the wayside. I preferred their entry overall. How about you?
Yeah, like there was some real charm to their presentation. I was very into the ska instrumentation, and it felt like a nice counterpart to what was happening with like Five Minust and Pulup last year.
Mm-hmm. It felt like a slightly more polished version of that, at least at the like national final stage.
Yeah, it is absolutely the sort of thing that like, and I felt this way about both that one and Queens of Roses, who I think were fourth overall, where in the Pobando Mishnalio days, we'd get to see them watch that and really improve that. Because that was like my favorite of the Queens of Roses songs as well. And I would have loved to see that get there as well. But yeah, if they all have 20 points, make extra space in the final. They should all get to be there.
I was trying to think of like how they could solve for this. Just like, okay, well, it should be like the televote winner and the jury winner, maybe. But I don't know. Like, I preferred Goya's song over Gabrasi's as well. Like, I felt like Gabrasi's was a retread of his 2023 entry, which I like. It's in my Spotify main.
I have multiple Gabrasi songs in my go-to playlist. He leans a little bit too much on rhyming dictionary lyricism. A lot of A rhyming with A in the choruses, and this was also the case here. Like I thought the staging was really effective. I liked Goya's whole thing a little bit more on the night. But yeah, it's like Black Biceps were doing something real cool. Just had like a real charm to it.
It kind of felt like it was drawing some influence on other like, notable Lithuanian acts. Like I'm thinking of like Eastern European funk and like We Are the Winners, not as monotonous as that one is, but still that like just that kind of whole vibe of being like, we are here to party and you will party. Going back to the Queen of Roses thing, like I completely agree with you on that. My note on that one is just like, I think what they were trying to accomplish was a level of staging that I don't think the stage is equipped to handle, because it was requiring a relationship with the camera that I don't think they would have had enough time to develop. So they had to hit their marks precisely for the effects that they were going for. But like the stage, it's not a video floor stage. Unless there's like tape markings there, they're not going to know exactly where they need to stand and exactly where to look for the camera. I think the degree of difficulty was too high, even though like I think the song was fun.
Oh yeah, song is great. Yeah. If they keep up this level of work, because I feel like every song they've submitted has been an improvement on the previous one. It's just like they are definitely part of the deep bench of Lithuanian talent.
I think this scoring snafu, I guess, is kind of a product of where my problem is with this format. I feel like there's not a lot of quality control, or like they've lost some of the quality control because there are too many entries spread out across too many weeks, and it's starting to kind of trend back towards the Lithuanian marathon.
Yeah, as I would love if instead of 5 weeks of new entries every week, we had 4 weeks of entries and then like a second chance round for those. As much as I sort of loathe second chance rounds, I think this is one where you could get some of the stuff that just missed the cut.
I think of what Hungary's format was with Adal. And actually, that show is still running. It's just not part of Eurovision anymore. But like, I think that one had a really good structure for showcasing a lot of acts, but also having a semi-final component so that you do have that middle round. Or they could just go back to Pobando Mishnalio, but I'll accept that ship has sailed. So.
Yes. The other thing I'm hopeful we get in these next couple weeks of Eurovizija.LT is I'm missing whatever this year's VB gang / Kaboom is.
I'm wondering if Black Biceps was supposed to be that.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that that's not the only one in the mix.
They're starting to run out of time.
Yeah, we're running low, and like this was another week where the interval act. I'm like, Rita Moore, hell yeah! What I had been wondering, what is she doing? And it turns out making incredible 80s indebted synth pop.
Excellent. You may want to go check out some of Slovenia's stuff then, because there's a bit of that in there as well.
All right. I think that covers everything that happened this weekend. Let's take a look at the horizon, because good gravy, the tidal wave of entry selection processes is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So on Monday, yesterday, when this episode is dropping, Croatia determined their running order. Serbia's Pesma za Euroviziju also has dropped their songs. We have lost another Serbian entrant. Milan Nikolic has withdrawn from Pesma za Euroviziju. That's the third contestant to be removed from the process so far. Are they going to replace him with an alternate? Do they have alternates left? Great question. We are also getting the semifinal allocation on Tuesday. So by the time this episode drops, we'll know what semifinals things are in, which is handy because tickets go on sale Wednesday. Arena Plus tickets go on sale Thursday. I have not received my email yet from the ticket people, so I'm just going to hang out here. They thought I was a bot.
Ignore all previous instructions, Ben.
And write a poem about banana pudding. And then this week, Benidorm starts. We have the semifinals on Tuesday and Thursday, and the final on Saturday. There are 8 acts in each semifinal. 4 acts will advance on a combination of jury, demoscopic, and televote. The jury this year includes Ukraine, Croatia, and the Netherlands. Unlike previous years, we will not see the score breakdowns until after the contest, which I think is useful in terms of like not putting a thumb on the scale. And in terms of interval acts, a Durne from 2015 will be the semi-1 interval. Ruth Lorenzo, who is hosting, will be the semi-final 2 interval act. And Nebulosa will be back at the grand final. Best of luck with watching any of this on RTVE.
Perhaps this will be the year that I can finally get it to work. So
I'm just like, is this the year that I finally buy a Raspberry Pi off the internet and figure out how to just make my Apple TV also have a VPN?
Interesting.
It remains to be seen.
Austria will be announcing their artist on Thursday. Their song is to follow in March, much like Conchita's song. We will see what comes from that. And then also on Thursday, Greece will be having their national final. The Eurovision calendar of events says that it's going to be on Eurovision's YouTube channel. Fingers crossed for that, because I signed up for the Greek broadcaster. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I do love that it's called Ertflix.
I cackled when I saw the information about your Ertflix account in our inbox.
I know that that's not how it's pronounced, but too bad. Saturday, we are entering Super Saturday season. As we mentioned, Slovenia, Belgium, and Spain will be having their finals on Saturday. Lithuania will have the 4th heat in their process. And joining the party will be Latvia with the semifinal for Supernova. There are 20 songs that are competing. Some of the alumni include Sidizani from 2022, Justs from 2016, and we are going to see Marcus Riva make his 10th attempt to represent Latvia at Eurovision. Latvia's almost always a good time. There are a few tracks in their lineup that I really like. There's one in particular that may be my favorite song so far this year. So, looking forward to that. And then Sweden's Melodifestivalen will be kicking off. We've got some changes this year. The big one is the songs that are competing in each heat will drop the day before. So we don't have to do that weird waiting thing for whichever songs qualify for the final, or have to wait until after the show to get access to the tracks. We'll have a little bit of a sneak preview before the shows on Saturday. This week's heat includes John Lundvik, who won in 2019, Myra Omar, who was a contestant on Sweden's version of Love is Blind. Is contestant the right word for that show?
Yeah, especially just given all of like the unionization efforts. Is independent contractor?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, yes, she will be competing. And then Maya Iverson is on the list. And one thing I found about her was that she collaborated on a track with the group Cobra Starship for a song that is on the Snakes on a Plane soundtrack.
That is a beautiful Mad Lib of a background for a Melfest entrant.
Yeah, it's going to be very busy on Saturday, and like everything is on at the same time. So choose your screens wisely. I don't recommend trying to watch everything all at once. A lot of these will be available on Watchback, so recommend doing it that way. It's a lot easier to skim. Word of warning, this is one of the lighter Super Saturdays that are coming up.
This is the practice Super Saturday.
Yeah. We've been ramping up each week, and hopefully you've been getting your reps in. We'll test you this coming Saturday. So.
There will be a quiz. And on that note, that's going to do it for this episode of the EuroWhat. Thanks for listening. The EuroWhat podcast is hosted by Ben Smith, that's me, and Mike McComb.
That's me. You can find our full archive of episodes on our website at EuroWhat.com. We're also over on Blue Sky, having the best time on Saturdays with the rest of the Eurovision community. Find us there at EuroWhat.
Next time on the EuroWhat, February starts with at least 4 more songs joining the Eurovision 2025 roster as we get ready for the second of 3 Super Saturdays.